Alright, Future Warfare is a 2D strategy sci-fi game that I'm currently working on in Unity. In this game, you can either play as the Galaxians or Dreadnoughts. This game is played in a number of rounds, and at the beginning of each round, each player selects their units. And once their units have been selected, we enter the main state of the game where the units are spawned in and battle it out. At the end of each of these rounds, each of the players are able to upgrade their units and buy various other upgrades to help them become stronger. And each of these rounds will continue until one of the players destroys their enemy's base and becomes victorious. Alright, here we go. So we're going to create 3 core game states for the game. Our first game state is going to be unit selection. And in this game state, both players are going to be selecting their units that they want to use for the following round. And once both players have confirmed those are the units that they want to select, then we're going to move into the round start. And this is going to be this game state where all the action happens. So the units that were selected are going to be spawned in, and this game state will continue until all the units are destroyed. And once that happens, we're going to move into our last game state called Upgrade Shop. And this will be the game state where each of the players will be able to buy various upgrades that will gain them an advantage against the opponent. And once both players are all done with that, we're going to loop right back into our first game state and continue through these game states until one of the players' bases is destroyed. So currently, I don't have a unit selection game state. We just have a start round state where you can purchase the units as the round is playing out. However, after some thought, I thought of adding the unit selection round so that it adds a little bit more strategy in selecting your units. You have to do a little bit of forethought. So it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors in the fact where you have to anticipate your opponent's next move. In beginning creating the unit selection state, I quickly made a back panel in Photoshop. Nothing too crazy. And so now I'm going into the canvas where I have the specific spawn points for the purchasing cards. And currently they're sitting at the bottom left. So we're going to move each of these 6 spawn points onto the back panel so that the purchasing cards are spawned right on top of the panel. And after adding some text, letting the player know to select their units, this is what we have so far for the unit selection game state. Obviously, though, this is not working as it should yet. But the buying cards are spawned right in front of the back panel as we want. Alright, so I made a script to manage all of our game states. We're going to be calling our game manager game stated changed method a lot. And we're going to have various if statements within this. And each if statement is going to be for each of the game manager game states. So once we start the game, we're instantly going to be putting the players into the game state of unit selection. And we're just going to run the code within here. And I also went ahead and added in code so that the units don't get spawned right away. The units are added to the queue, but don't spawn until the start round begins. I want to create an indication to the player that they have selected a unit. So I just quickly created a border in Photoshop, and I'm just going to add it around the purchasing card of each of the units. And this will allow the player to know which units they have currently selected. Epic, it's working just as I intended. However, I kind of want to change the look of it, make it a little bit wider and kind of have like a glowing effect. So I'm just going to head back into Photoshop real quick and touch it up. And yeah, we're just going to roll with this. So previously I was using a lot of the code for changing game states in the end round script. And it was pretty messy, honestly. So I just took a lot of that code from the end round script and moved it on over to our menu manager script, so that all the code is just in one script. It's just a lot simpler and cleaner. And it's all going to be within this game state changed method. And we're just going to have it broken up into the if statements for each of the possible game states. Remember how I said we're going to loop right back into the unit selection game state? So we're going to need a button for that. And I'm just going to plop one right underneath the panel. And yeah, pretty simple. It's going to, once the player clicks on the button, it's going to send the game state back into unit selection. Beautiful. So now our game is starting to have some nice flow to it. Nice, so there's just one more thing we need to do before we finish this video off. We have to add in a victory and a defeat game state. So we're just going to create the victory text. And I'm going to make the victory text pretty bright. And we're just going to have this victory text appear once the player has defeated the enemy's base, to indicate to the player that they kicked some serious booty. Now for the defeat text, I wanted it to look a little bit different, to give off a different energy, so I added kind of a shadow behind it, just to make it a little bit darker and depressing, to make the player feel bad about themselves. Alright, that's going to be it for this devlog. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate you. And yeah, I feel immensely happy with how far I've made it with this game, since this is the first game that I'm actually going to finish. We pretty much have the rough draft of it done so far, and the rest is really just building off of what we have. But don't get me wrong, there is still a very long road ahead of us, but I am very excited, and if you want to see the future development of this game, consider subscribing, and if you like the video, give it a like. Appreciate you. Have a good one.